Hello, everybody. This is Rodney Doubt. Today, I'm going to show you a really cool way to better deal with people that are bothering you, that you're having conflict with. Now, just to make it really clear, I'm not going to show you some way to manipulate this person or somehow make them into a nicer person. I want to show you a way that will allow you to better deal with that person, uh, by shifting your perspective a bit. And maybe in another video, I'll even show you how to shift the other person's perspective. All right, so you're going to want to draw this. You're going to want to get out a piece of paper and draw a line like this with an arrow at each end. All right, and this direction here is toward, and this one is away. And if you think about it, you can either be moving towards something or you're moving away from something. You're moving toward something that's important to you, moving away from negative feelings, things you don't like. All right, so I'm going to draw another line here, and this line has to do with five senses, and this one here is inner or mental. Okay, experience. Now here's how it's going to work. The first thing you want to do is in the bottom right, you want to say, who is important to me? All right, so who is important to you? And I'm going to just demonstrate this really, really quickly, go around this quickly. But who is important to me? I'm going to put my wife as one. Now, you can put as many people as you want. Now, again, I'm showing you this process. You need to do this process in order for it to work. You think about like making chocolate. I could show you a video of somebody making chocolate, and it would look really nice, right? But if you never tasted chocolate, you really wouldn't know really why it's so great, what's being shown. That's exactly what's happening here. So if you're just watching this, you're watching someone make chocolate, but you've never tasted it, you're not going to know what it is. So go ahead and do this exercise with me if you haven't already. Get out a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. All right, second thing you want to look at is what inner stuff shows up and gets in the way. Okay, so I'll give you an example. What stuff shows up in the way of moving toward who is important to you? Like my wife is important to me. So one is frustration, right? But other people may have fear, may have anger show up, but definitely frustration shows up for me, and sometimes gets in the way. Okay, so next part here is what do you do to move away from that inner stuff? Okay, that shows up and gets in the way. And so one thing is, for me, it's speak with an edge in my voice. All right, that's something that will show up when I'm moving away from that inner stuff, from frustration here. And just to kind of illustrate this, let me illustrate. So it's like I'm here and I'm moving away from it. All right, so this is my way of moving away from it, or moving under control, either away from or under control of this stuff. So the frustration shows up, and this is how I deal with it. Okay, so I'm kind of moving away from what's important to me when I do that. All right, just so you know, stuff that shows up that we move away from, fear, sometimes it's important to move away from fear. If a car's about to run you down, moving away from that is a really useful thing. So moving away is not always bad. All right, now last bit is, oops, change this to words. What do I do to move towards who is important to me? All right. And so if you're talking about what do I do to move towards, well, there's a lot of stuff we can get into here. Kiss, hug, say I love you. All right, a lot of stuff. There's many, many more things than that. Keeping the house clean together, for example, is another thing. Taking care of the kids together, all sorts of stuff. All right, so you do go through this process, and of course, I'm going to illustrate this part as well, because here I'm starting with someone who's important to me, and I'm doing something to move toward them. I don't like the way that looks. It looks kind of not cool. All right, I'm starting with who's important to me, and I'm moving toward them. So moving toward who is important to me, starting from here. All right, now you do this. Now, this is something you want to do with yourself first, okay? Now, the second time you go around the matrix, I could delete this, but I want to add something here. Now, in the lower left, add the person you have a conflict with. I'm just going to say person whom I'm having conflict with. All right? Now add them there. Now, here's the thing. On some level, maybe this person, I don't know if you're going to be able to say to yourself, this person's important to me. You might have a hard time with that. I have had that with at least one person. But you can then say, well, is it important to me that I relate well to this person? If not, well, what's the point, right? So if there's somebody that you're not relating well to, maybe it is important to you that you relate well to them. And you can say, put down, so and so I want to relate well to. So if it's a boss you don't relate well to, you can say my boss who I would like to have a better relationship with. Doesn't mean you like that person. Maybe you don't even want to hold them as important, but you might hold having a better relationship with them as important. You're going to put that down. Then you're going to put down what are some of the inner stuff that shows up and gets in the way with that person. What do you do to move away from or under control of that inner stuff? And then you're going to write down, what do I do to move toward this person or to move toward having a better relationship with this person? So we're changing the question slightly, but I don't want to get into rewriting all of that now because you'll kind of get the point. So if you, to do that, you will do this. So you pause the video and then you would go ahead and answer those questions. So I'm going to assume that you've done that. Now, a lot of times people will notice when they do that, they'll have a little bit of an insight. But if you haven't, you can ask yourself another question, which is, in order to move toward improving the relationship with this person, am I willing to have the stuff here? All right. And what's happening is we're trying to move away from it. We're trying not to have the frustration or not have the fear. But am I willing to have that fear in order to do something that would move me toward this, having a better relationship with that person? And you might have to think about that question a bit, or maybe maybe it's hard for you to do it as a black and white, am I willing? So you might say, well, how much am I willing? On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 is not willing at all. 10 is totally 100% willing. Maybe you're halfway between, maybe you're a 5. But take your time to just kind of let yourself notice what shows up for you. How much willingness is there when you think about it in that way? Okay, last bit. And this one will require me to erase this screen here. So I think I can do that pretty easily by making a giant eraser. Let's see how that works. Actually, you know what? That's not even the best way to do it. Let's go back. All right. So what I'm going to do here, just a little bit bigger size. You know what? I wonder if this would work. Oh, that's hilarious. All right. Sorry, those of you watching this, there we go. Okay. So when you do that, you want to do something else that a lot of people don't bother to do, which is you want to try to see things from that person's perspective. But when we say see things from another person's perspective, a lot of times we don't really have an organized way of doing that. And so the way that we might choose to do it may not help us really see it from that person's perspective. And also, if you're going to see something from another person's perspective, it's really important that you have empathy for your own perspective, which you have shown yourself if you've answered these questions and kind of gone around answered these questions to a couple of times here. All right, so here's what you do. You take this person that you are having a challenge with, and you look at maybe you can start anywhere on the matrix, but what I like to do is start here or here with that person. And so let's say that person is someone who yelled at you, right? You know, well, that's weird. But there we go. Boss yelled at me. Okay, so let's say that happened to you. Okay, then I would look at, well, what inner stuff might have shown up and gotten his way? Oh, anger, the feeling that I screwed up, for example. Okay, that might be what was going on inside of him. Of course, we're guessing. We know it's not 100% the truth. And then we might say, but who is important to him, or what's important to him? Maybe when you think about it, you might say, maybe my boss is important to me. Maybe you don't think that. Maybe you think that instead of you being important, customers are important to him. Doing a good job might be important to him or her. So I have no idea what the situation is you're dealing with there, but you might look and say who or what is important to your boss. If that's the person that you're having a conflict with. It could be anybody. And then you want to say, well, what does this person do to move toward who or what is important to them? And you might discover, I noticed that it disappeared, what I just wrote. totally disappeared. So there's still some issues with this, but you guys know what I mean there. All right. It's probably not saying kisses and hugs and I love you. So in any case, uh, what is this person doing? You might notice behaviors this person has done to take care of customers. Uh, listen to customer complaints. Um, you know, give feedback to employees. All right, there could be any number of things. But what happens is when you think about the person you're having a conflict with, and you think about them from these different perspectives, what happens is you start getting a little bit of an empathy for that person. All right, and that can open you up to them. Okay, so there's one more step, one more thing to do here, which is share the matrix with this person and tell them, hey, I have this perspective that I'd like to show you. And you can just take them through it. You say, and don't tell them why. Just say, I have this cool thing I want to show you. And if you tell them this is a way to resolve a conflict between me and you, that might not be the best way to open it up. The person might be a little on edge, like, wow, what are you going to do? You're going to tell me some negative feedback about me? But you would just say, who's important to you? What inner stuff shows up and gets in the way? Notice I wrote who there. What do you do to move away from that inner stuff? What do you do to move toward who is important to you? And you have them talk about that. And then you might have them talk about, instead of something about conflict, just say, you can add this other question, which is a really cool question, something that I've learned to do with groups, which is, what is our shared purpose? All right, this deserves a whole video itself, but you would actually ask this person, what is our shared purpose together? What is it that we together do? And it could be even, what is our shared purpose right now, if it's someone you only have to work for in the short term, if this is a work relationship. But you start working on that. What is our shared purpose? And then you say, what inner stuff shows up? It gets in the way. Now it's a dual thing. You're both doing this, okay? What inner stuff shows up and gets in our way? What stuff do we do to move away from that inner stuff? What do we do to move toward our shared purpose? You change it to our shared purpose. And now the person is thinking, is noticing that they are doing things that are getting in the way, but you haven't addressed them specifically and said, you're doing this and this bothers me. You've kind of opened it up. And even when you do the first loop with them, when you want to show it with them, you can give your own, I would suggest giving your own examples as well of things that you do to move away and who's important to you, etc. So it shows that you can both see that you have a lot of things in common, the positive as well as the things that aren't as positive. Okay, so if you do all of those steps with somebody, first with yourself, then do it with the other person and share it with them, you will very often find that it changes the relationship between you and that person. I have done this myself, and the person had no idea why I was doing that, but the person seemed to be a lot more open to me and kinder to me afterwards, after doing that. So it does work, but it works on a kind of a stealth level. And the cool thing is, you're not manipulating the person, you're just opening up their perspective, just like you opened up your own perspective before you started talking to them. All right. Thank you for listening to this. And if you have any questions, please go ahead and contact me. And you'll find out how to contact me under wherever I've posted this video. I will post something that tells you how to contact me. And good luck.